Hey there, XRP traders and investors. It's Rod with Pow Group. Welcome back on The Pursuit of Wealth, your home for MJ stocks, crypto assets, news, and interviews. Today is Wednesday, it's June 18th, and it's an exciting day today. We had two XRP ETFs, spot ETFs, at that launched today in Canada, and being Canadian, super proud day for me, and I've been waiting for this really all year. And I actually purchased the 2x leverage, the futures-based ETF. It was XRP, the 2-gram one. I actually sold that today, and I bought the new spot ETF. And there was two that launched today. There's the Purpose Investments one, and there was actually a few variations of it. Some of that were Canadian dollar hedged, some that were US dollar hedged. We'll discuss all of that and more, what it means. And then there was also a 3IQ one that launched. They specialize more in digital assets, whereas Purpose Investments, they're a more broad range. But they were both created in 2012. And like I said, 3IQ focuses more on digital assets. But I did buy the new spot ETF. I'll talk about which one and my reasons behind that. And then, like I said, the different variations. And then we'll take a look at the XRP price chart as well and see how we reacted and what we can potentially expect in terms of the technicals and the price action in the days, weeks, months ahead. But before we get to it, make sure to smash the like, help support me on the channel. If you're new, you can subscribe. Tick the bell, you'll be notified on any future videos or when I go live. And as always, this is not financial advice. You should never buy or sell or do anything based on anything that I do. This is for entertainment purposes only, right? And full disclosure, I do own XRP now, the ETF, and the underlying asset as well. XRP is my largest crypto portfolio holding, and when you're buying a spot ETF, you actually these companies that offer the ETF, they actually have to hold the underlying asset. So it's really bullish for the overall sector and XRP, the asset. And you can follow us over on X as well, formerly Twitter. Handle for that is @GroupPow. Going to be using that as my platform of choice going forward. And speaking of X, crypto briefing on X, just in Purpose ETF XRPP is now officially live on the Toronto Stock Exchange. And then today we had, like I said, 3IQ Digital Asset Management. We are excited to announce the launch of the 3IQ XRP ETF, and that ticker symbol is XRPQ, and that's going to be on the Toronto Stock Exchange as well. As it debuts, they're also doing a zero management fee for the first 6 months, and at Ripple as an early investor in the fund. So this is, I'm getting a lot of questions about which one to pick. I don't really think it really matters. I mean, you can kind of compare the management fees, and 3IQ is definitely attractive here with 0% management fee for the first 6 months. I actually went ahead and just bought the Purpose one. I already had XRP, so the 2-gram one. That was a 2x futures-based one. Not great to hold long-term. This is going to be a super long-term hold for me, and I just went with Purpose ETFs because they already have a Bitcoin, they have the Ethereum one, and they also have Solana, and just a little bit more well-known, I think. And then also the fact that I had XRP, which was already in US dollars, I actually bought the Purpose US option. So I didn't have to basically sell and then wait for my funds to transfer over to Canadian dollars. So I was able to buy it right away using my US dollars that I received from selling XRP 2-gram 2x leveraged futures-based ETF, and I was able to roll that in. And I sold it for a little bit of a profit, not much. I sold it for, I think, 12% profit. And then my idea is to hold that super long term, right? Because that was in my TFSA, which is a tax-free savings account. So I'm holding that very long term, and all of the gains that grow from that XRPP investment. And it's this one here, the XRPP.U.TO. So it just means that this is basically US dollars directly on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So offers exposure to XRP's price without any currency conversion effects from CAD, Canadian dollars, making it convenient for investors who hold USD or prefer to track their investment performance in USD terms. So that's what I did. I already had the XRP, so it just made sense for me to use that one. And overall, here's the different options. So you have XRPP.TO, which is the Canadian hedged one, Canadian dollar hedged one. You have XRPP.B.TO, which is the CAD unhedged, and then XRPP.U.TO, which is the USD. So that's the one that I bought, and I gave that explanation on X as well. Clarky was asking about it and said that made a lot of sense. So glad to hear that was helpful. And we were also discussing it in the Pow Group private community today. But you can see here, this is XRPP, and this is on the Toronto Stock Exchange. So Purpose ETF. We had a low of the day today at 966. And the high was 999, and obviously we can't really track much on the chart here, or come to much of a conclusion here. It's going to take a few days, few weeks for the data to start to really flying in, but not really any technical analysis we can do on that. But we'll take a look at XRP in just a moment. I did want to bring up Circle here, though. This thing is flying high. We just hit over 200. We're at 200, almost 209 here after hours. And when this thing opened on launch day, it opened at $69, and then it closed that day at $83. And even from the close, the thing now after hours is up 150% from that close. From the low of the day on launch day on Circle, it's up over 215%. So absolutely crazy. We had a bull flag as well on the 15-minute time frame from the low to the high, higher low, higher high, bull flag confirmed, and we hit that target of 194 and then some. Obviously, this has a lot to do with the Genius Act and the stablecoin bill passing, right? We're going to see stablecoins make the US dollar even stronger because you're going to have to hold them in treasuries, right? You're going to have to back them 1-to-1 to the US dollar. And therefore, it's going to make the US dollar more accessible. It's going to be more financial inclusion. It's going to create more demand for the dollar and these other fiat currencies around the world as we see new stablecoins and different fiat currencies issued in stablecoin format. So it's going to make them even more valuable and even more sound because, like I said, they have to back those 1-to-1 in reserves and have cash and cash equivalents or T-bills, etc. So if we take a look at XRPQ, the low of the day today was at 1331 and the high was at 1353. So same thing here. We'll start to see how it fizzles out over the next few weeks. And we'll take a look at XRP here now. On the day today, though, we had Circle, no surprise, EOS, and VET leading the bull list. And on the bear list so far, we've got XXRP, Flare, and XDC. So this is the one that I sold today. And again, it's the Tucrium 2X long daily XRP ETF. This one's a futures-based ETF. And the reason why I bought that was because I didn't know when the spot ETF was going to be coming for XRP into Canada, so I wanted some exposure. This thing was up to $44. I bought it at $23. And, you know, from $23 all the way up to 40, what was it, 44 I said? I was up about 89% at one point. But again, I'm not here for 80% gains or 100% gains or even 1,000% gains, right? Like this is going to be a super long-term hold for me and my TFSA. Again, in Canada, you're only allowed to contribute a certain lifetime amount to a TFSA. And if you're like me and you maxed it out last year in 2024, well, in 2025, you were waiting for January 1st to roll around so that you can get that extra $7,000. I've already used that $7,000 for 2025, so now I can't contribute any more money to my TFSA until January 1st, 2026, and we'll see how much the government's going to allow, but it's probably going to be around $7,000, and most of that $7,000 I'll be putting into a little bit more beaten down MJ potentially, but I'll be putting a good chunk into that into XRP, more than likely an ETF, right? So now we can hold it in our regular registered account, retirement savings account, or TFSA in your traditional stock brokerage account. So the reason why I sold that and bought that one, sold this one XXRP and bought XRPP was because this one's a futures-based ETF and it doesn't actually hold the underlying security, and it's a leveraged ETF, meaning there's built-in decay to it. So it's not good to hold long-term. You shouldn't hold it any longer than like a couple months, right? So that's why I bought it. The only reason why I bought it is because I wanted some exposure to it and I didn't have any other options in my TFSA. But now that I have a spot-based ETF, which is a lot less risk involved, and it actually holds the underlying security, that's what I'm going to be holding for the long term. So that's my spiel and my reasoning for all of that. But on the day today on XRP, we'll zoom into the daily time frame. We actually did start daily consolidation. So we lost the low of yesterday, and we're just looking to gain some direction here. Obviously, the tensions in the Middle East are really starting to, kind of put a wrench in things and just kind of put everything on hold for a moment. We saw some pretty decent upside there on the news that an XRP ETF, spot ETF, was going live in Canada a couple days ago. We saw a high of 233 and then the low of the day today, 211. We also had a head and shoulders as well on the POW algo alert. So if I just bring up POW head and shoulders and zoom into the hourly, it was also a 4-hour bear flag, and we had a target on the head and shoulders. You can see here down at 204. We did hit micro oversold, and like I said, we had this 4-hour bear flag targeting at $1.98. And with all this tension rising in the Middle East, I wouldn't be surprised if we did come back down to around that $2, maybe even just sub $2 mark. But on the hourly time frame, we're not looking too bad. We're in an hourly uptrend. We have our low, high, higher low, and higher high. We could see an EMA 12 and 26 bull cross there on the hourly time frame, showing some continuation, and we're also due for a daily EMA 12 and 26 bull cross, I would say, over the next week or so. But on the weekly time frame, We did have a triple thunder bearish crossover where the MACD, the stochastic, and we lost the 10-week moving average. So we had a bear cross of both of these, the MACD and the stochastic, and we lost the 10-week moving average. So not a great sign. But overall, like I said, wouldn't be surprised if we did dip down to around that $2 mark. And I think that we could see a little bit more sell pressure just with the rising tensions in the Middle East. We just don't know how this is all going to unfold. If it's going to be a 6-month thing, if it's going to escalate in the next 6 months, is it going to happen in the next 6 weeks or 6 days? We just don't know. Or is it just going to, kind of this too shall pass and we won't have to deal with it at all? We just don't know. We don't have a crystal ball. We did have a death cross as well on XRP, and now we're looking for a potential golden cross, which would be the 50 and the 200 crossing now after the death cross, and this realistically could happen potentially over the next week or so, maybe the next couple of weeks. But overall, we're holding up pretty decent at the moment. And if we zoom into the 15-minute time frame, we'll see this is actually XRP is actually a 15-minute bull flag as well, similar to what Circle was. So you just go from the low to the high of that bounce there, and you can see here on the 15-minute time frame that we're consolidating, but we didn't lose the 0.32 fib there at 216. So 216 is going to be key support. Lose that, then we're no longer expecting the daily bull flag and bullish continuation pattern. And if we confirm it by breaking the high of the bounce here at 218, which is also a double top, then we'll be looking at a measured move here from the low to the high, moving out to your 0.32 fib. That's showing 220 here in the very, very short term, like I said, on the 15-minute time frame. So that's what we'll be watching for. Overall, like I said, at this point, I'm not ruling out one more potential dip down. And if we take a look at the weekly time frame, we could see an EMA 12 and 26 bear cross here on the weekly time frame. And if we were to see that happen, we could easily be back down into the $1.90, $1.80 area. But most important support, obviously, is going to be that 161. That has been the lowest point since we broke out from that 50-cent range. And yeah, we're just looking to see how it goes. It was a head and shoulders here as well. We had the left shoulder, the head, the right shoulder, and we confirmed it. And if we just take our measured move there from the, I like to use the real candle bodies as much as possible. So if I just move that out, that's showing a potential drop down to around 145. So again, if we were to see rising tensions in the Middle East, right? We know Iran's threatened the U.S. That said irreparable damage if you get into this mess. Then we could easily be back down to that 150, 145 level if things were to escalate further. But we'll just take it as it comes. As of right now, like I said, I think XRP, we're going to see Canada is usually the first. They were the same with Purpose Investments, Bitcoin, Ethereum, also Solana. They launched all of those first, and then shortly after the US followed. So I don't think it's going to be too long before we have to wait for spot ETFs for XRP in the US. I think it's probably going to be more toward the end of summer. There's a good chance that we get it in July, August, but they have the deadline is in October, so there's a realistic chance that it could happen in the fall as well. But I do think that the Ripple versus SEC case will come to an end at some point over the next, call it a few weeks, couple of weeks, and then once that's behind us, then shortly after they'll get the ETFs go live, right? And they just approved a lot of these futures-based ETFs. They're still waiting on getting a lot of the pricing data, so it's going to take some time. But overall, Polymarket saying that there's a good chance, I think it was like 98% chance that an XRP ETF gets approved in 2025. And today the FOMC kept rates paused. And if you looked at Polymarket, it was a 99% chance that it kept it paused today. And when Polymarket's around that level, around 98, 99%, I've never seen it be wrong. And like I said, it's just more time to accumulate at the moment, and we just have to be a little bit more patient for a little bit longer. But going into there, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. Did you buy XRP in the spot ETF in Canada today? If so, which one did you choose? Love hearing from you, and we'll continue the conversation in the comments section below. It's Rod with Power Group. Thanks again for joining us in the pursuit of wealth, and have a fantastic rest of your night, and we'll see you again on the next one.